I and the Father are one, said Jesus Christ. Does this verse prove the deity of Christ? The proponents of the Trinitarian theology so confidently believe that Jesus' statement in John 10:30 is an admission of his divinity. However, a careful study of the verse itself, comparing it with the truth written in other verses of the Bible, and an analysis of the Greek text of the verse will show us the error of believing that John 10:30 confirms the so-called divinity of the Lord Jesus Christ. If we carefully study the context, it clearly shows that Jesus was not talking about his divinity but about taking care of the sheep, the people who came to believe. There is no reason to take this verse to mean that Christ was saying that he and the Father make up one God. The phrase was a common one. When Paul wrote to the Corinthians about his ministry there, he said that he had planted the seed and Apollos had watered it. Then he said, "He who plants and he who waters are one." In the Greek texts, the wording of Paul is the same as that in John 10:30, yet no one claims that Paul and Apollos make up one being. Furthermore, the New International Version translates 1 Corinthians 3:8 as, "He who plants and he who waters have one purpose." Why translate the phrase as "are one in one place, but as have one purpose in another place"? In this case, translating the same phrase in two different ways obscures the clear meaning of Christ's statement in John 10:30, Christ always did the Father's will, he and God have one purpose. Christ uses the concept of being one in other places, and from them one can see that one purpose is what is meant. John 11:52 says Jesus was to die to make all God's children one. In John 17:11, 21 and 22, Jesus prayed to God that his followers would be one as he and God were one. We think it is obvious that Jesus was not praying that all his followers would become one being or substance just as he and his Father are one being or substance. The meaning is clear. Jesus was praying that all his followers be one in purpose just as he and God are one in purpose. A prayer that has not yet been answered. The context of John 10:30 shows conclusively that Jesus was referring to the fact that he had the same purpose as God did. Jesus was speaking about his ability to keep the sheep, the believers, who came to him. He said that no one could take them out of his hand and that no one could take them out of his Father's hand. Then he said that he and the Father are one, have one purpose, which is to keep and protect the sheep. When the Lord Jesus said in John 10:30, "I and my Father are one," he was not referring to his alleged divinity, but to how he and his Father were one in taking care of their sheep is also supported by the Greek text of John 10:30. This is the Greek text of John 10:30. Ego kai pater en esmen. As translated, ego, I, kai, and, pater, Father, en, one, and esmen, are. Thus, translated as I and my Father are one. There are three equivalents in Greek of the English word one based on gender: eis, masculine; mia, feminine; en, neuter. The example in the New Testament of the use of these three Greek terms is in Ephesians 4:5. Eis Kyrios, one Lord; mia pistis, one faith; en baptisma, one baptism. Take note that the word used in the Greek text of John 10:30 which is equivalent of one in English is en, the neuter adjective. Thus, in the Greek text of John 10:30, the equivalent of the English word one, the Greek en, doesn't refer to Jesus and the Father. If the word one refers to Jesus and the Father, the verse should use the masculine eis instead of en. The equivalent in the Greek text of the English word one here in 1 Corinthians 3:8 is the neuter en because the verse shows that Apostle Paul, he who plants, and Apollos, he who waters, are one in goal, objective or action. Thus, how the Greek term en is used in 1 Corinthians 3:8 is also the same as how it was used in John 10:30. The Greek term en, translated in English as one, and not indicating that the two subject are one in number, one in nature or one and the same, but one in goal, objective and action.